When I watched this video from Jason's Fireball Tool channel, I was champing at the bit to give this challenge a go. But in order to have a chance at meeting the time requirements and quality requirements that Jason's rules laid out, I'm gonna need to step back and strategize just a little bit. Now, if you haven't watched the Fireball Tool video with this challenge, I'm gonna give you a little bit of background. Jason from the Fireball Tool Company has created a fixture table that has a bunch of holes in it and attachments that help you fabricate weldments more efficiently, and he claims it's better quality. So this challenge is intended to really test out individuals with plate steel tables and if they can achieve the same level of quality in a similar time frame. Here are the rules for the challenge. Here we go. Rule number 1, make sure your plate steel has nothing on it. My table's made out of plate steel, and it will have my bench vise on it just because it's mounted to the tabletop. After that, nothing will be on it. Rule number 2, have your material immediately beside the table and ready to be used. Rule number 3, set up your camera near one of your table corners at an isometric angle so that the entire table is in frame. Rule number 4, place a clock somewhere clearly in the frame of the camera. Rule number 5, any traditional or standard welding tools are allowed. Rule number 6, if you make any sort of jigs or templates, they must be made within the time window. Rule number 7, if you weld stops to your table, then they must be applied and ground off within the time frame. Rule number 8, make sure you follow the plans and quality check them too, okay? Rule number 9, you've got up to 30 minutes to complete 2 weld outs. Whew, it's gonna be quick. I think it's possible. Cold brew, so good. So I really think the 30 minutes is possible. As long as we plan this out, I think we can meet the quality requirements and the time limit. So here is my strategy. So the hardest thing I think is going to be getting the flatness requirements of 1/16 inch for these 2 pieces of square tube frame.
Absolutely, probably the hardest part, because it takes some special tools.
In the challenge video, Dalton successfully met the flatness requirement. 2 of the fabrication shops in Jason's undercover video could not meet the flatness requirement, and I know on previous builds of my own that the flatness is really a challenge I'm gonna have to try to overcome. So this is my welding table I built. I'll put the link to the build video in the description so you can watch that. There is a lot of problems with this table. Now, the major problem for this challenge is I made it out of 3 pieces of plate steel, and there's weld seams down the center. What this did is weld distortion really potato chipped this weld table, and so you'll see areas of 1/8 out of flatness across this table. And it's not very long, which means it's bad. So for this build or this challenge, I'm really gonna have to plan out how to keep a flat surface. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do to keep this weldment flat is use a Fireball Tool Mega Square and a 3-point setup during my fit up portion. The Fireball Tool channel actually has a pretty good video outlining how to do the 3-point setup to get a single plane and line everything up. So go ahead and watch that. I'm gonna try to mimic that strategy on this build. The second thing I'm gonna do is preheat all the components that I'm going to be welding prior to tacking and welding those components. The cooling rate is gonna be much slower, leading to less weld distortion. Now, it's gonna take a little bit of time, so I'm gonna have to be on my game to get this done. The last thing I'm gonna do in order to ensure that this thing is dead nuts flat, I'm gonna be sequencing my tacks and my welds. Tacks have a fast cooling rate because you're essentially putting a lot of heat at one very concentrated point on a cold metal. Now, the second thing that's gonna be hard to stick with is the dimensional requirements of this challenge. To keep the square from parallelogramming or turning into a diamond, I'm going to be tacking all of my weld seams at the center or the neutral axis of those 2. Now, to make it to where it's adjustable, by doing that, I'm going to leave a small gap at each of those weld joints. So after I tack it, I can maneuver the squareness of it to get the dimensional requirements of this print spot on. After doing whatever adjustments I need to make, I'm going to check the final squareness by measuring corner to corner, both directions, to ensure that we have the same dimension. And I think that's gonna ensure that we have a very square, well-dimensioned component. Now, in order to stay in the 30-minute time limit, I'm really gonna have to be on my game. Now, in order to do that, I'm gonna make sure all of my tools are laid out in a line ready to be used on my workbench off to the side. That's gonna include a battery-powered angle grinder, another angle grinder. I'm gonna be using these Nico flap discs, another angle grinder with a cutting wheel, normal gloves, welding gloves, respirator, welding helmet, F-clamps, C-clamps, scrap pieces of metal, an edge cleaning doohickey, welding pliers, vice grips of various sizes, a marker, and some chalk. 2 different tape measures to check my dimensions, a caliper, maybe not the caliper, some 25 thou weld wire. This is to get the gaps at the weld joints. Some string to check flatness, my mega square, I think it's an 8-inch. Some regular old magnet square. I'm sure I'll use some pieces of 2x4 and some good old 3-2-1 blocks. Sure would be nice to have Fireball tool magnetic shims. So the only metal I have on hand is some 2-inch square tubing. It is 120 wall thickness instead of 187, but I think it'll work. Hopefully it doesn't disqualify me. There you go. Let's get this party started. All right, this is the Fireball tool test. I have my GoPro here, my empty steel table, my clock is right there inside the frame of the camera, 2 tape measures, my pieces of cut steel here, and all of my tools laid out ready to go here. My welder is off but ready to rock and roll. Let's get it. All right. Let's count down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Let's go. Make sure my camera's going. Yep, we're good. All right, we got a 20 1/4 and a 20 inches on the dot. We have our wire spacer. And a Fireball tool. 2 clamps. Let's get our 3 points of contact just to make sure there's no pressure points. And I think we're good here. Okay, everything looks to be pretty close. Let's turn the welder on. It's plugged in. Turn it on. Let's get the ground clamp in place first. Should have done this ahead of time. Dang it. All systems go. I forgot to preheat. We'll skip this one. The other ones we have to preheat.
I also meant to take my stupid wire out. Guess we're gonna cut it. Second one, 20 1/4, 20 inches on the dot. Make sure we get these correct. Let's get a spacer. Ah. All right, 3 points of contact. I don't know how big of a deal it is since we have that fireball tool square. Preheat. Got to get the entire piece heated up because the rest of the piece will act like a heat shrink and pull the heat away from where I'm heating up right at the weld joint. I'm talking like I'm an expert. Nah. I'm just well researched, we'll say. Not well experienced. Alright, didn't quite get that wire out either. Seems to be a trend. Okay, so 20 inches and 20 inches need to be away from each other. Now let's go ahead and do a fireball square on one side of this, and then we'll do our 3-point system somehow. Gotta get a spacer. Kinda need a spacer on those other ones too. I spilled my oil over here in the corner, dang it. This is just to get it close. All right. One clamp. Fit it up. Two clamps. All right, now let's do some checks. It's over 20 in the 20-inch direction by just a hair under a 1/16. That's not okay. We'll have to adjust that. And this side is a hair right at 20. So I think in this case we're gonna have to not use the spacer that I had originally. And this side is well over 20 1/4. This is almost an 1/8 inch over. Gosh dang it. All right, let's check this again. Yep. 1/8 inch over, 20 1/4. 1/8 inch over, 20 1/4. This one says it's right at 20 and right at 20. Dang it. Okay. We're gonna readjust. 30 minutes is gonna be hard now. Okay, so the 20 1/4 direction, so we gotta take a little off this edge, a little off this edge, a little off this edge, a little off this edge. Should have used that with black. Gotta be gentle. Don't want to break my tacks. Okay, I'm gonna use my benchtop sander to take these edges down slightly. Okay. The other thing is we have a pretty good gap, so I'm going to cut I'm going to regrind these down. Alright, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought. Alright, let's reset this one up. Let's not do the gap with the wire. We're going to put everything tight just to make sure we're under the dimension slightly and not over, because everything looks to be wanting to be over. The other thing I'm going to do is tighten down my tabs here. Gosh dang it. Yeah, it's not wanting to stay on those tabs for some reason. All right. Three. What the flying flip? Still didn't get the tab. What is going on? I'm half tempted just to use the 3-point. All right, let's heat this up. Whew. It's a lot of heat. Frick! I forgot. Put some gloves on. All right, everything's flush. Let's tack it up. Maybe my fireball tool is wrong, but there is a gap on the bottom side, but not on the top. I don't know what that's due to. Okay, I think this one looks good. Let's meet these up. So this is my 20-inch and that's my 20 1/4. I mean, the two corners meet up beautifully. All right, we got a gap. Don't like that. All right. Looks like this side needs to tap this way a little. All right. Without putting a brace on the opposite side, it almost comes to a point perfectly. So we're gonna heat this up and tack it up. You know what? I'm running too low on time. I'm just gonna gamble and just forego the preheat. Didn't want to. All right. So we tacked it without measuring. Let's get this clamped down. Measure it out. All right at 20. A hair under 20. Looking good, looking good. 1/16. A hair over 20 and a quarter. That one's still a hair over 20 and a quarter. All right. I want to meet the print. I don't want to take any shortcuts, so we're not going to make the time. I don't even know where we're at now. This is our second go, and we're at 30 minutes. Not even close. Yeah, I don't know how you do this test in 30 minutes. Frick! All right, we're gonna slow down. Let's wait 10 seconds. To officially fail. I failed the test. Man, 30 minutes went quick. Gosh dang it. So that was a failure of an attempt. It looks like all my 20 1/4 pieces were cut a little bit too long. I used the same first cut piece as a template for the other additional cuts, so all of them are going to be wrong, and it's just too much of a headache in the middle of trying to meet this 30-minute target. And so I'm going to level set. I'm going to grind down all the pieces, make sure that they are the correct dimensions, and I'm going to give this challenge a second attempt. Now I'm going to post this video just to show you my failures. Now, I am by no means a professional. I only like to weld on the weekends. My day job is not welding. I'm probably going to take a couple of different approaches on round 2. I probably won't preheat. That seems to take a lot of time. I'll probably exclusively use the fireball tool and tack in the corners versus at the middle section, and just make sure my overall dimensions are good. And then at the very end, if my flatness is out or if I'm cattywampus a little bit, I can apply heat in specific areas, spray it down with some water to get some quick cooling rate to try to flatten things out. I think that's my strategy for round 2. This is a tough challenge, especially when you have a table that's not flat. That would have made this so much easier, as well as cutting things the correct length. But that's all me. Peace.